Before I get into this review, I just want to say that I'm not really looking forward to the movie releases in April. There isn't anything that I'm really super excited for. Scratch that. There were about 3 movies I was excited for this week, and we didn't get any of those 3. There was at least 2 movies I knew we weren't going to get. I knew we weren't going to get The Void or The Transfiguration, but I was hoping for Colossal. Instead, we got Smurfs, Going in Style, and The Case for Christ. So, looking at the next week's movie releases and the week after that and all through April, there isn't anything that I'm really excited for. There's a few movies I'm hopeful for, but this could be a very weak month for movies, and that's coming off of a really exciting month. March was amazing, I feel. But enough about my worries of April. Let's actually get into the 2 movies I've seen so far this week, because Smurfs is going to be Tuesday, and I can't wait for that. So let's start off with The Case for Christ. So we usually get some sort of religious or some sort of Christian film in April around Easter time. So The Case of Christ is based off of a true story. It's based off of an autobiography, I believe, of the main character in this film. Another little thing I might add before I get started is, well, this is the first time ever I was late for a movie. Here's the weird thing. The website for the movie theater said that the film started at 10:40, or at least I believed it started at 10:40 a.m. So I get there a little after 10:30 because I don't think I'm running late. I get in there and the movie's already started. I look at the ticket, turns out it started at 10:15. Now thankfully that movie theater has about 15 minutes of previews, so I probably only missed one scene, probably only missed about 6 to 8 minutes of the film. I just want to clarify that first, but here's what the movie is about. Some sort of event causes our main character's wife to start believing in Christianity. Now, that event is the thing that I missed. I'm guessing that was the first scene of the movie that I missed, but thankfully they talk a little bit about it throughout the movie that I do have a hint of what might have happened. I don't know exactly what happened, but clearly the daughter of these main characters, the daughter was in trouble at some restaurant with something, most likely choking. They didn't say what happened. My guess is choking because it's a restaurant, but I'm not quite sure. But thankfully, a nurse was in the restaurant at that moment, at that time, and saved the daughter's life. That I do know because that is referenced.
Oh, I don't know how to thank you.
Come here, baby. Come here.
Thank you so
You have
much.
to thank me. I'm a nurse at Mercy Hospital. She's gonna be fine now.
We're so lucky.
Well, it's not luck. It's Jesus. My husband and I were on our way to another restaurant tonight. Something told me I need to be here.
And because that nurse was in the right place at the right time to save their daughter, the wife starts believing in fate, starts believing in some greater purpose, starts believing in some higher power that saved their daughter and allowed this nurse to be there at the right time. The wife goes to talk to the nurse, and the nurse leads her into Christianity. They go to church together. Now she starts believing in Christianity. Unfortunately, she used to be an atheist, so was our main character, Lee. She wants to bring her family into Christianity now, believes she's saving her husband by bringing him into Christianity, telling him about what she believes now, while our main character believes she's being brainwashed and wants to save her from Christianity. Well, with our main character, Lee, being an investigative reporter, he believes the only way to save his wife is to prove that Christianity is wrong or false. And in order to do that, he investigates the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And if that is false, if that doesn't work, then all of Christianity falls, and he can save his wife.
If somebody wanted to do an investigation into Christianity, where would you start?
If the resurrection of Jesus didn't happen, it's a house of cards.
You sure you want to give me that loaded gun?
I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to pull the trigger.
So he puts his investigative reporting skills to the test, and that is our movie. Now, being this is a Christian film, you can probably pretty much guess what happens by the end of the film. But at least this is another Christian film out there where it starts off with a character who's an atheist and doesn't really put atheism or people with different religions and paints them as bad, horrible, nasty people. Which is surprising to say because this is a Pure Flix film, and then again, I've only seen a few Pure Flix films, mainly God's Not Dead 1 and 2, and it is very different from those two films. But ultimately, this does remind me a little bit of what I liked with Risen, where it is sort of a mystery, and our main character is not of the faith, eventually becomes that of the faith, as you'd expect a Christian film to have that course, to have that plot line. But it's nice to see that it's not persecuting against people of different religions or people that don't believe in God. So what did I like about this film? Well, overall I definitely liked it. The camera work and the set design and the lighting all looked pretty good. Now, is it amazing quality? No. But it's definitely not cheap looking like a lot of other Pure Flix films that I've seen are. I also have to add the acting was good in this film. All of it was pretty damn solid. Especially our main character, who is played by someone I remember. He was in, I don't know if he still is because I haven't seen two seasons of this series, Bates Motel. He was the brother, not the one that goes crazy, not Norman Bates, but the brother. He's our main character in this, and I have to say he is the best one out of all the acting, which is good because he is our main character. I think the only actor or actress I had issues with was the person who played his wife, the person who played Leslie. Her name is Erica Christensen, and I have to say it's not like her performance, it's just some of her facial expressions, or mainly the things that her mouth and lips and teeth would do sometimes. There's this weird expression she had every so often that was kind of distracting and just made me go, ugh. I don't know, it's like sort of like biting your lip, but also trying to smile. It was something weird. It was throwing me off, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But other than that, I had no issue with any of the actors or actresses in this film. I think the whole investigation around Jesus' death and resurrection, I thought all of that was handled pretty well, pretty professionally, and where it might not convert people that are already atheists or don't believe in Christianity or don't believe in Jesus Christ, it won't change anyone's mind, I believe. It'll only affirm people who already believe it. But I have to say, it was thought-provoking and very interesting to watch. There's also a subplot where Lee has to also investigate something else, something modern. A crime has happened, an officer was shot, and the evidence points to this one character, this one suspicious character. And so he also has to investigate that. It's a very small side plot, but it is important throughout the movie. And it does parallel with what's going on with him as he is investigating about Jesus Christ. And I like this parallel, and I wish they would have done more with that side plot and enhanced it more, because that was actually really interesting. There's also a family issue he has to deal with his father, how he grew up and his father didn't love him, or he believes his father didn't love him, and so he has issues with his father, which also paralleled to some atheists, I guess, or at least the movie brings it up, of some atheists having no father figure or were abandoned or unloved by their fathers. I don't know if that's true or not, but the movie brought it up, and there was some interesting things about that. And with the father plotline, you can almost predict exactly what's going to happen and how he's going to find out that his father really loved him all along, but didn't know how to say it. And it is resolved in a cliched manner, but a very effective manner. So honestly, there was a lot of interesting things about this movie, and I liked it, and I was invested throughout the entire film. With that in mind, there is a few things here and there that keep me from really liking the film. One of the conflicts I really didn't like was unfortunately the main conflict, or at least the main important conflict of the film. That is the wife and the husband at ends with each other because one believes in Christianity now or is starting to believe in Christianity while the other's atheist, and both of them trying to save each other from each of these religions. I say religions because I don't think atheism is technically a religion. That whole conflict and them arguing, it felt a little too over-exaggerated. Like, I can see couples having that issue, but at the same time, it's over-exaggerated to a point where it doesn't feel realistic. It doesn't feel like people would actually say the sorts of things that these characters say. It feels over-dramatic to the point where it feels really forced and just unrealistic. I mean, to me, sometimes it gets to a point where it paints our main character as sort of a monster and her as some of a dimwit at the same time. And I didn't really care about either of those two during those arguments. I cared about both characters when they weren't arguing, but when they were arguing, I was just like, come on, this conflict sort of... And I understand this conflict is the spark that gets him into investigating Jesus Christ. So I understand the need for it, and there needs to be conflict, but at the same time it's done in an unrealistic fashion, I feel. And maybe I could be more invested with it and believe it more if I knew what sort of character the wife was before she started believing in Christianity. Maybe it was in the first couple scenes that I might have missed. Maybe it's there. But I don't get enough of her knowing what she believed in because both of them were atheists, I believe, before this whole thing happens where their daughter almost dies and is saved and she starts believing Christianity. But the whole argument with our main character Lee is that she's becoming a different person, that she's turning into someone that he doesn't love. Well, if we knew what he loved before and their relationship before the whole event, maybe it would be a much stronger movie and we would understand where he's coming from and maybe where she's coming from. I just think that whole conflict, even though it's one of the main conflicts of the film, is underdeveloped. Or at least forced and unrealistic the way they executed it. And of course, her way of dealing with it is to pray for him, and it almost felt like War Room, which I didn't want to be reminded of, where they would argue with each other, but in secret she would pray for him the same prayer over and over again, and it gets repetitive. And while there is some great dialogue throughout the movie, there is some really corny and very cheesy dialogue as well. But I have to say, this is one of the few Christian films or religious films in general, where I actually went through the whole thing, watched the whole thing, without laughing at an unintentionally hilarious moment. Thinking back, I can find some of it almost parody and almost laughable, but when I watched the movie, I honestly didn't laugh during any unintentional hilarious moment, because there didn't feel like there was an unintentionally hilarious moment in this film. It was all crafted pretty nicely. So I came out of the theater actually enjoying it. Now, if you're a fan of Christian films or religious films, then you'll most likely like or even love this movie, because there's some people that love religious films, Christian films, no matter what. No matter the quality, no matter the acting, they just love it because it is Christian, it is religious. So if you're one of those people, you might find this to be the best movie ever made, because sometimes they consider some of these really trashy, really badly executed Christian films as best film of the year. If you're not a fan of religious films, if you're not a fan of Christian films, most likely you won't like this film, or you might find this to be an average watch. For me, it was kind of an average watch, but I have to admit that there was more quality in it than there are in other religious or Christian films. And so I have to say The Case for Christ was a fun movie. I did enjoy it. I'm going to give it 3 stars. So did you see The Case for Christ? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews of 2015, 2016, or 2017. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.